If you think that you can't get a productive and lush garden off the ground in under a year, I'm gonna show you a garden today that disproves that completely. Kevin Espiritu here from Epic Gardening, where it's my goal to help you grow a greener thumb. This is a really cool video because I've had someone over here at the Epic Homestead helping me out quite a bit in my garden, planning things, we're building projects together, all sorts of awesome stuff. My garden assistant, Jacques. He also likes to go by the Garden Hermit, but that's a story for another video. In today's video, I'm gonna take you to his garden and I'm gonna show you everything that he's done to transform his space in just the time that we've been on lockdown here with this global pandemic. So he's done it quite quickly. It's a really, really interesting garden, very different style to my own, which I always like to showcase. So cultivate that like button, and both myself and Jacques will bless you with 27% less pests in your garden this year. And let's go over to his garden. So I'm hopping in the new used Epic Mobile. Let's go. All right, I'm here at Jacques' garden. Already I'm seeing something I like, and I see the man himself hiding behind there. Hey. What's going on?
Going pretty good. Got my little corn patch here.
The front yard garden, right?
Yep. So,
which is pretty small, but still growing.
Yeah, so this is actually the latest expansion, I guess, in terms of food growing.
Okay.
So this is a new little patch we just put in.
What do we have going on?
So what we have is a bunch of kind of hybridized sunflowers. So these were accidentally put here.
Yep.
I had this giant mammoth sunflower last year, and I thought the seeds were wrecked by caterpillars, so I just threw it out here, and this is what ended up happening.
Let's take a look at it really quickly.
We've got like some of the...
Because it looks planned.
Yeah, I guess that's good.
Yeah.
We got the red sunflower. I think it hybridized with the mammoth. That's the theory. That's why we got a little bit of red.
So you've developed a new sunflower variety.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll need to save seeds.
Yeah. And we've got some corn, it looks like, down here.
Yeah, so this is actually golden bantam corn, just like standard classic yellow sweet corn. And so I put it in pretty tight because I didn't want to get rid of these sunflowers.
Yep.
And actually I'm starting to do a milpa style here. So I've got like 3 melons here. These are all high heat tolerant and drought tolerant melons because I don't want to worry about this front area. And I'm going to put a bunch of cowpeas around the corn, which I already have started in the back, which we could take a look at later.
Sure.
And hopefully these artichokes will take, but I don't know about anyone else, but here in San Diego, my biggest pest is an earwig.
Mine as well.
You can see that here.
And you know that well, because you've been battling it at my house as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. They seem to really like eating plants.
Yeah, let's take a look at the earwig damage so people can understand what it is. It almost is like they skeletonize the leaves.
Right.
And they leave the veins of the plant for the most part.
Yeah, this is pretty typical for the earwigs.
Yeah.
And I just put these in, transplanted from seed, like 3 days ago. So pretty bad damage.
Yeah, not too great. So that's most of what's going on in the front yard, yeah?
Yeah. But the real gardens are in the back, so
Let's go on back.
let's go check it out. All right, so let's go check out this backyard garden.
Let's do it. I'm telling you, this is one of the coolest gardens you'll see. Here we go.
Welcome. So here's our seating area. Got a little picnic table and one of the main gardens. We'll go ahead and walk through both of them.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Before we get into the full tour of Jacques' garden, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. I think it's a really cool story to show you that you really can grow even if you didn't start out growing a whole lot of food. So when did you start this expansive garden? You have like 3 or 4 growing spaces.
Yeah, so this all pretty much started at the peak beginning of the pandemic.
So maybe like March?
March.
Yeah.
March. So Katrina, my girlfriend, actually went to Home Depot and bought 9 tomatoes.
Okay.
And this was like an overgrown field of grass.
Yeah.
And we put 9 tomatoes in, and from there it's kind of taken off.
Right, and you'll see just how much he's done in, maybe 14 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, really cool. And then what's your general approach to the garden? Because everyone's got their own style, right?
So at the beginning it was kind of everything.
Okay.
Started off on the basic route of buying like Miracle-Gro or like synthetics.
Yep.
And from there, I've slowly transitioned into square foot gardening, John Jevons biointensive. Mm-hmm. So most of our beds were originally double dug, which was a lot of work.
Yeah. And so if someone doesn't know what double digging is, you take a shovel, you dig a shovel's length down, you remove that dirt, you dig another shovel's length down, you remove that, and then you swap the dirt and you sort of loosen the soil that way. It's sort of like a manual tilling method.
Yeah, so you're kind of breaking it in and you're adding a lot of fertility when you do that.
Yeah.
From there, I've kind of starting to lean more towards not digging, or maybe just like low disturbance. So we find that the low disturbance is nice because we have less weeds, and we seem to have to water less, which is always a plus.
Sure. For us in our climate in San Diego, watering less, if you can get away with it, is probably the best bet because we don't really get much rain at all. We get maybe 12 inches of rain a year. We'll be under that this year. I think sure.
This year we're probably close to like 8, but I just guessed that. So.
Yeah, we're not even close to our already low average annual temperature or rainfall, so it's not a great situation. So anything else you want to say before we really get into the garden?
I guess the other thing is had a lot of help from everyone in the house, which I really appreciate. And so now, obviously, like I'm not organic in the certified sense, but we do like things that are organic practices. So we don't really use any synthetic stuff anymore. And we're really big on mulch, which you'll see.
Yes, yeah. Sort of like a beyond organic approach, because as a home garden, you're never going to get the organic certification anyways.
Right.
But there's stuff you could do that wouldn't pass you on organics, but actually is more organic from a philosophical standpoint.
Yeah.
So anyways, without further ado, let's get into Jacques' garden and take a look.
Cool.
So here we are. Before we get into the main garden right there, or even the back garden, there's this little garden right here. So what's going on here?
So this is our like little bonus strip. So here we've got a lot of kind of herbs, flowers, actually all sorts of things. So down here we have our rosemary, and then here we actually have some poppies. So I believe these are mother of pearl poppies.
Those look beautiful.
Which I'm really into.
Yeah.
We've got our columnar basil here. This has actually been overwintered, so it seemed to not mind the winter at all, which is really quite nice.
And that's a Greek columnar basil?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've started propagating a little bit. It's pretty friendly to propagation, I found.
You can really tell how the name came about, because I mean, it's straight up almost like a topiary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is actually a volunteer sunflower, so I have no idea what this is going to look like, but I didn't have the heart to take it out.
Sure.
And so as we go over to this side, I have to show off these leeks here.
My eyes are on these, man. These look amazing.
So check these out. So they should be buried, I think another 6 inches underground actually. So I'm expecting to have quite a serious leak here.
So you've blanched the stem effectively.
I tried to. So I grew my seedlings when they were about 9 inches tall. I made a hole like 6 inches deep and just dropped the leek in there. And then this is all top growth out of the soil itself.
So you started the leek seed how deep?
So I started them in trays.
Yeah.
And then once they were about 9 inches tall, I had a little pipe and I poked a hole out that was about 6 inches deep.
Okay.
And I dropped the whole plant right in that hole.
So you blanched it by burying it deep, not by hilling it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smart. So that's like one of the ways that a lot of small scale farms will do it. And these are actually Bulgarian giant leeks. So they're living up to their name.
Yeah, these are honestly, they're massive, especially in a little container box like this. It's really cool looking.
This is kind of a surprise for sure.
Yeah.
And also, this is a volunteer gooseberry. It is a gooseberry.
Yeah.
So once these leeks are harvested out, I guess it'll be a gooseberry patch, which I'm fine with.
That's a win.
As we keep going, we have like some of our mints. So I've got like pineapple mint, mojito mint. This is double mint, which is a funny name, but it literally tastes like exactly double spearmint. So it's really good.
Intensity?
Yeah. And so this is growing in really nicely. We really like having mint in the summer, especially with like our drinking water.
Sure.
It's really nice. As we kind of move over.
I think I see some berries, yeah?
Oh yeah. So originally the birds weren't bothering us, but I saw a stellar jay on here yesterday, so had to get into protection mode. So these are actually berries from a friend that we're watching over, and we get to reap the benefits of those tasty blueberries.
Look at these right here. Blueberries in Southern California.
I didn't know they'd taste that much better, but they do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth it.
Any tips on these that you found really helpful?
Honestly, these were set up by somebody else. I think the big pot size is really helping keep the moisture in.
Yeah.
And also I have added like some of that espoma berry tone to it.
Okay.
So I add a little more acidity, a little bit of fertilizer. So they seem to be really appreciating it.
Cool.
As we kind of pan over a little bit, we have kind of a jungle in our seating area here. So this is plumeria. We've got a bougainvillea in the back. That's a kiwi plant over there in that clay pot.
Yeah.
And if you look at this table, we have some abutulons.
You've got it everywhere, man.
Which is pretty sweet.
That's a gorgeous flower.
They're really cool.
One of the cooler flowers you're ever gonna see right
Definitely
there.
like Katrina's favorite,
Yeah.
and I've grown to quite fond of them.
Yeah.
And these guys are actually, these are golden nugget tomatoes, and they could grow in really small pots.
Oh, look
but
at these.
you could see that this is like maybe,
color.
yeah. So they will turn like a more golden color as the
Would you
name-
say that one's ripe then, right there?
No, it has to be full gold.
Full gold.
But these are really small pots.
Yeah.
The only struggle is watering it. enough.
Sure, sure. Okay, cool. Well, why don't we go? I mean, what's crazy about this tour is that's not even really the real garden, so to speak. This right here is, and so let's go ahead and pop in here, Jacques.
Yeah, let's do it.
So here we are in the front yard garden. Let's actually get in here and take a
All
look.
right, let's do it. Got this little fence here.
Was this a DIY?
Oh yeah,
This fence?
everything is DIY.
Was this for just to add a little border to the structure of it, or
It
was
was
it
for a border and for the dogs.
Okay.
That way we don't have to worry about it.
Got it.
A little pro tip, you get a little PVC pipe in the ground.
Yep.
Makes it really easy to throw your post and not have it wobble around.
So you just sunk that in?
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, we could walk in. So you can start seeing the mulch.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mix of straw mulch and these aspen wood chips. I kind of went with straw mulch around vegetables because vegetables like straw mulch more. The wood chips I kind of have around the canes because they'll appreciate that more.
Yeah, that'd be a multi-year crop.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically what we have here is a variety of canes. I actually don't know any of these varieties. They were a gift from Katrina's dad.
Okay.
And yeah, so what I have here is they're all in the ground, and I have this kind of funny little trellis. Since I have them up against the fence, I get a lot more vertical space. And in order to maintain them so we're not walking into thorns basically, ever so often I put these little bamboo stakes in the ground.
Okay.
And then what I do is I run this twine across the bamboo stakes and then tie it to the fence post like this.
So you're sort of just basketing them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can't really go anywhere but up now.
Right.
And they look really great.
Yeah,
I'm
these look
really happy with how
extremely
that came out.
healthy. You
Yeah.
getting any fruit off of them yet?
Not yet, but you can see some of it's trying to escape through the fence.
Oh,
here.
there's one. Look at that.
So
Hard to see.
I don't know what it is.
Hard to see, but it is there, guys. It is there.
But yeah, kind of look over here, this kind of monstrosity of a tomato. So the reason why it looks like this is because this is actually one of the original tomatoes that we planted in March of last year.
Wow.
So this is a husky cherry tomato, and nothing seems to stop it.
This tomato then is over a year old. It's 14 months old.
Yeah, and it just keeps producing.
Look at
we
that.
had tomatoes all winter off of these, which was really nice bonus. And they're actually really good. So that's definitely a keeper in my book. It might not look the prettiest, but it's definitely still producing.
Still producing. Yeah. Which is something we have to say it's hard to do if you're in a lower zone.
Yeah, this is San Diego, so I have some help there for sure.
Yeah.
I guess we could keep going this way.
Let's move on down.
Yeah. So walking through here, got a little more canes. Have the last of the peas. You can see they have powdery mildew. That's just the name of the game in San Diego.
Yep.
We're close to the coast. Nothing I can do about that. But over here, what we really have going is, these are some Oriental Express eggplants.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are actually overwintered from last year. And so we're already actually getting fruit. And this is,
Oh, wow. Look at that.
this is pretty early in the season for eggplant to actually start producing because they really do appreciate the heat.
Eggplant usually is going to start producing in like July or August, right? Yeah.
And so since I overwintered them, I was able to just basically cut them down until they were like a foot tall. It was just them. And I actually used this bed to grow like greens all through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And then now that we're going into summer, just letting it be eggplant.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea because what Jacques is basically saying is when winter came, he cut these down to about a third of their size, planted some vegetables that were leafy in the wintertime, grew them right next to it, and then harvested those and then let these come back. And you can do it with the tomatoes, like you said, the eggplants, but also the peppers.
Yeah, so I actually have a couple overwintered peppers that we could see as we're walking around.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been a really nice bonus because now I don't have to start eggplant.
Right. And if you're in a colder zone, you could dig these up,
Right.
pot them up, cut them back, and then try to bring them back. You might get a failure rate of maybe 50%, but you still get something.
Right, and I think it's definitely worth it for eggplant.
I agree.
Just by your feet, that's actually our wine cap mushroom patch.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
It's like an 8-inch thick straw mulch. And then I have burlap on top just to keep the temperatures down. If you pick it up, you could probably see some mycelium starting.
Let's see if we got any in here. I'm doing the same thing at my place. Oh, yeah, look at that.
So hopefully we'll have a nice flush in like fall, it would be my guess.
You get a nice bit of white growth there.
Oh yeah, got this monster borage, volunteer. It looked pretty funny when all the cabbages were here. as we're slowly harvesting them out.
Yeah.
It looked like a Mune plant basically.
Sure.
So back like in this little section is kind of like what I'm looking at as a like a perennial patch.
Mm-hmm.
So on the ground here I have some currants, but really like the main star that I'm trying to get going is this is our asparagus patch. So this is actually asparagus from seed, not from crowns.
Wow.
So they're already starting to grow quite well, but you know, I won't get any actual harvest until the following year.
Yeah. At which point you may not even harvest those.
Right, they're probably going to be pretty small.
Yeah.
I don't really want to take away from the plant. But I got like a little bit of pollinators here, some blackberries, strawberries, etc. Really excited about this one because it has a lot of shade too.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps the watering down.
Got it.
You'll see that a lot of things I do leave to flower just because the pollinators really actually appreciate these small flowers. In this case, this is parsley. And honestly, it looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it looks great. It's got this sort of umbral flower structure
Right.
that a lot of things specifically need. They need that support to land on.
They really seem to appreciate it.
Yep.
Kind of going over here, these are kind of like the first beds that I double dug. So it's mostly leafy greens in this garden because it gets more shade. So I like to take advantage of that. But I have to show off one thing here,
Let's do it.
which is rutabaga. So this is one of those things that I always see in the colder climates. And I mean, look how big that is.
That's massive.
So just trying to show, you know, Charles Dowding. Maybe not quite the same size, but
No, I'll tell you straight up, when I was at Dowding's house, that's not the same size, but still very impressive. Still very impressive.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So we got a little more overwintered eggplant here. This is kind of a DIY trellis, which is just tree stakes with a conduit on the top.
Yep.
So total cost there is like 12 bucks. So not bad.
Yeah, a lot of what you do in your garden is quite DIY, quite like repurposed material.
Yeah, so we really like to repurpose stuff. And of course for the budget, it's great too.
Sure.
So, but the main like really exciting part of this garden that I'm personally excited for is the garlic. And what we have is all this garlic. So all of this was started back in, I think October. So this is all soft neck garlic. It's 4 or 5 different varieties. I kind of did a little bit of a thing here where on this side I have them tighter spacing, and on the other side I have a looser spacing. So I wanted to see if it would matter as much. We could actually pull one up.
Let's
Just
do
to
it.
see, 'cause
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah. Let's
actually
pull one
curious. So I'm gonna go for a big one because I want to know.
Okay, hold on. This one right here?
Yeah, I think this is the one.
Here we go. Moment of truth.
I haven't actually looked, so. Oh, that's like, that's not bad.
That's actually really nice.
So I actually have to find the tag, but
That is a nice looking
it's a
bulb.
pretty decent head.
And that's soft neck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of these are soft neck.
Yeah.
So that's all I messed with this year. Now that I know, based on your experiment, that I can grow hard neck,
Right.
I think next year I will,
Sure.
because I need those scapes.
That's pretty impressive though. It looks like you have one, unless that's just, it's got a little purple hue
Yeah, this
to it.
might be one of the purple varieties. I have like the early Italian and like a purple early Italian, I believe.
Yeah.
So pretty soon I'm going to harvest this whole bed out, which
Okay.
I'm excited for because that means I get to plant something else there.
Why don't we take a look at this little herb patch over here? I think this is something really interesting that you particularly do in your garden.
Yeah, so we really like herbs a lot. And we like doing borderings with herbs. They kind of define the garden nicely. But really the main purpose of this herb patch is that it's really close to the kitchen. So when we're cooking, we just come out here and we can take a look at some of it.
Yeah.
I'll try not to shade it, but basically the real winner here that I think everyone should have is this. This is lemon thyme. If you could smell this, it's actually incredible.
Oh, that's fresh.
It's so good.
very citrusy.
Oh yeah, it's surprisingly citrusy. But yeah, so I kind of let this calendula grow pretty big because we really like the flowers too.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone hasn't seen this guy, this is actually called rue. It's a really funny looking plant.
Yeah.
And what we actually use it for is you put a stem of this in your coffee and it makes your coffee like kind of mellow out. It has like a really nice flavor.
Yeah, you turned me on to that.
Yeah,
Great
it's
idea.
Quite nice.
Okay, well that's the front yard garden.
Yeah.
Why don't we zoom on over and take a look? Because you thought this was it. It's not. There's actually a huge garden in the back, so let's go ahead and take a look.
Let's do it.
So here we are at Jacques' seed station. And first, honestly, before we even talk about this, I kind of want you to talk a little bit about this right here.
So this is Patio Madeira. It's kind of been all over our garden. And if you take a look at it, you'll see that it's absolutely covered in bees. So there's no way we're taking this out. It's really great around the borders. I actually really like the color too.
Beautiful color.
And yeah, you'll see the bees just go nuts for it.
Yeah.
And right underneath it is where I kind of have these 2 seedling tables. So, I mean, first off, we got to talk about these. So that's that epic 6-cell seed starting, but look at that. So these are actually cowpeas. These are what I'm going to put between the corn out front. And you could see all those roots.
Yeah, let's take a look at those roots. And Jacques is the first person besides me to try these out.
And I'm hooked.
Yeah. We hooked him.
That's like, oh, that's all I want to use.
Yeah.
So that's just how it's going to be. But yeah, I've got some more peppers here. Always start more than I need. I always wish I had more space than I have.
Right. Do you have any specific ways you start seeds that you think would be valuable for someone to know about?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the main things I like to do is to really make sure that I have a nice, even, like whenever you're using potting mix or seed starting mix, you want to make sure it's not too chunky. They really don't seem to like that. And lately I've been a really big fan of vermiculite. So you can see these trays over here. Most of these are actually flowers. So they're quite small seeds that need to be surface sown. And so by putting the vermiculite on top, it makes it really easy for me to not have to be on top of watering as much, because each little piece of vermiculite is basically like a sponge.
Yep,
So,
and it still lets the light through if it's a light germinating seed as well.
so that helps a lot. But really it's just about how much water, and I try to make sure that they don't get too hot in the beginning. So I start most of them in the shade until they actually sprout.
Cool.
And that seems to be working for me.
All right, let's pop into the main show.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many, I mean, most people's gardens, it's one space, and you have 3 spaces that are equally impressive.
I mean, so we like to eat. The main purpose here is to grow food that tastes great.
Yeah.
And we've discovered that everything we grow tastes way better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the name of the game here.
First of all, let's just take a quick look at these structures. There's a rooster, so bear with us. It's real garden life here, but take a look at some of these structures, again, with the DIY method. So why don't we talk about a couple of these first?
Yeah, sure. So again, these are those tree stakes. They sell them at like Home Depot for $4. And what I have is conduit on top that's 10 feet. And all I did is just throw a simple trellis net on it. And with this, I could really grow anything that climbs. Last year I had beefsteak tomatoes on this, and it's really easy to kind of just weave the tomatoes through each net.
Nice and light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And underneath, I'm currently kind of cover cropping with fava beans, and have some more in the back there. So basically the idea here is, I mean, I guess I'm not cover cropping necessarily because I'm letting them actually produce. If I were to cover crop, I'd really probably take them out once they flowered.
And let them drop, right?
Right.
Yep.
Because when they flower, that's when you have like peak nitrogen in the soil.
Got it.
But yeah, over here, Florida weave.
And this is a new project for you. You just did this.
Yeah, so I actually just put these in the ground, man, maybe like a month ago. And so the basic concept here, T-posts on the edges, wooden stake in the middle, just because I had them. And I have them pretty tight. So they're 18 inches apart. And along each row of tomatoes, I have 2 sets of drip lines. So I really want to do the deep watering. I have the, again, really deep mulch here.
Yeah.
Straw. Should probably go deeper. This is probably getting down to only ½ an inch. But especially here, like if you look around the drip, as I dig, it's really quite moist underneath.
Yeah.
And so I only have to water this area like, I mean, once or twice a week max.
Why don't we talk about the soil that you're dealing with?
Yeah, so the soil here has been pretty good. It is pretty clayey. So some of the problems you could have is overwatering, because once you do it once, you're basically not going to dry that out for a long time. So I found that adding the straw helps a lot because it adds a little bit of organic matter over time. It helps the soil kind of drain a little better. But beyond that, it seems to have the nutrients we need. It's mostly just about sort of continuing to add organic matter so that we could increase the drainage properties over time.
Sure.
Behind here, we got, looks like more favas.
Yeah, more favas. This trellis net, I have some peas on there that I'm letting dry out for seed. But I'm a little scared to plant on this because I've had 2 chayote plants entirely disappear from gophers.
Oh no.
So I'm a little bit hesitant to plant here. I'm letting fennel go to seed and dill go to seed because it's one of our favorite kind of seasonings. So you'll see a lot of kind of flowering dills and fennels around.
It's something I like about your garden is you let things go, quote unquote, past what they should go to, and you use it for a different purpose.
Yeah, we like to kind of use things as much as we can.
Yeah.
One last like little pro tip I'll say, or not pro tip, sorry, amateur tip, is so if you look between the tomatoes, what I have is, that's sweet Elizum. That's a purple carpet variety, I believe. But hoverflies really like it, and hoverflies are the natural combatant to like tomato hornworm. So you bring more of those in, hopefully they handle your hornworms for you. And also basil. So those are some Greek columnar basils that I propagated. And I also have some sweet basil that I'm also going to be planting around the rest of it. Because, you know,
Especially
basil
when
and tomatoes.
when you do these Florida weaves or these big tomato trellises, you can actually prune off a lot of the lower growth as it matures and then put something below.
Exactly. So, I mean, once they get up to here, there's pretty much not going to be much leaves on the bottom foot or two. So yeah, this is kind of the tomato patch. We could kind of walk over maybe here. So these two beds here are actually double dug. So these are some of the other double dug beds. Just want to call out a couple interesting things. So down here, these are actually onions that we grew from like those little pearl onions you could get at the grocery store. So all I did is just buy a bag of those, plant them, and so these are supposed to be Cipollini sweet. So I'm not getting a huge head, but I mean, look at that. That's gonna be perfect on the grill.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're going for here, is a nice onion to grill up. So I'll
And
leave
just
that.
to repeat, you bought it from the grocery store
Yeah.
for like 99 cents or
Yeah,
something.
so it's like a little bag of like 50 little tiny onions for like $1, and that's it. I just
What's
put 'em in the
weird
ground.
about that is at the grocery store, that's a pearl onion, but at the nursery, that's an onion set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why not?
There you go.
So looking over here, this is our kind of pepper bed, or one of them. So this is actually an overwintered ancho poblano.
Look at this.
So
This is almost a tree.
yeah, so you can see it's kind of interesting. The growth over the winter has this like really dark color. So these are the older leaves, and all of this stuff really shut up in the last month.
Everything above your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we already have some peppers on it on that side over there. And so we're really pleased about that because we love poblanos.
Oh yeah.
And what I'm gonna actually do here is, you can see these kind of big bamboo stakes. I have them on both ends of the bed. I'm just gonna do a basic, like, not really a Florida weave, but just have lines running across. And that's just to kind of help support the peppers as they grow. So I don't really wanna get too involved in trellising, but I wanna make sure that they're not breaking.
And maybe the reason why you're doing it this way instead of just staking each individual is because you have them in a perfect row, so it's more efficient.
Yeah, and I think in this bed there's like 20 pepper plants, so I don't want to get 20 cages or something
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
So again, like these stakes, maybe like $1 max, and the twine is basically negligible.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going for.
Why don't we talk about these bad boys right here?
man.
This is what I want to see.
So these, trying to compete with Potato Daddy over here, but I don't know if I'll get there. So these are all potatoes. They're grown in grow bags. So right now these are about like 2.5 months old. I harvested one of them at 2 months, and they were amazing basically. So I'm really excited for these.
What size grow bag?
So I have a single potato, and this is just a 5-gallon. And then I have like 2 potatoes in a 7-gallon.
Okay.
And I was gonna hill them up more. As you can see, I rolled the bag, but I didn't really find it necessary. So now I kind of wish I filled the bag all the way and just planted deeper, honestly. But we still got a great harvest, like 10-to-1 or something like that. So I'm definitely happy with that.
I know everyone wants to see this. We need to talk about the.
Oh yeah.
We need to talk about this.
All right, so this is like a little teepee trellis. So this is actually Katrina's idea and design. And the basic concept here is maximizing vertical space, having like a nice shady place, once it's fully grown that is, to kind of hang out in. So the way this works is each one of these conduits has like a 4-foot rebar underneath it. And, you know, a little bit of trigonometry, nothing too advanced. But basically we figured out the angles, hammered in the rebar, and dropped the conduit in. So where they cross is about 8 feet. And what you'll see on this backside is, this is a passion fruit.
Oh.
So we actually kind of decided that we're gonna let this passion fruit basically take over, because it will.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game with passion fruit.
And so just to be clear, you drove in the rebar at an angle down into there, maybe 2 feet or so?
Yep. So I think I used like a little compass, but basically you just need to find an angle, hammer that in roughly right. You can see they're not perfectly crossed up there. It doesn't really matter. And then you just drop the conduit right on it. So it's not gonna go anywhere. It's been in the ground for over a year now and it hasn't budged.
There There you go.
And in the meanwhile, we have some, cucumbers, all sorts of runner beans.
And I noticed you also built in a non-twined section.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can actually sneak in and kind of chill.
Yeah, so you could go right in here. Once it's covered in passion fruit, it's going to be amazing because it's going to be shaded and there's going to be passion fruit hanging everywhere.
Little garden fresh dinner in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at least that's the plan. So I guess over here, we could look at this.
Yeah, this is interesting because this is another application of that herb border.
Yeah,
idea.
so originally actually the way this worked is this was the fence line right behind this. And so I decided like the best use for that would be a nice strip of herbs. So this is a huge variety of herbs. We're really huge on herbs. And then what happened was we're like, we need more garden space. So if you look over here, this bed is actually all no dig entirely. So what we did is we pushed the fence out, threw down some cardboard, 3 inches of compost, and just planted right in it. So this is like a really, truly, I've never dug this at all bed.
This is the Charles Dowding extraordinaire bed.
Yeah. And you could see, I mean, one thing for sure for no dig is I would recommend going with squash. Because, I mean, this is Lebanese squash. You could see it's loving it.
Yeah.
So we've been eating
Pure
squash
compost.
for like a month. Straight compost from the Miramar landfill, actually. So it's municipal compost. So it's free.
Yeah.
So you know me, I'm all about free.
Yeah.
And I see something that I really like seeing in the background here.
Ooh, yeah. So this is the GreenStalk, which I think everyone has seen before, or at least on your channel for sure. This is definitely the best vertical system I've seen.
Yeah.
So when I was working with Kevin, he has 2 of these, and I was actually really impressed. I didn't know I would be this impressed, but it's basically amazing for beans. So we have like 5 rows, just beans. And we're actually starting to get
Oh, you
quite a
got my
nice
favorite
harvest.
bean of all time.
There we go.
Yeah. Dragon's tongue.
Yeah, and they're just going off. All the beans started in here, started producing faster than anything in the ground. And I'm going to say that this is because this warmed up faster than the ground.
Yep.
So they're really doing great, and it's really low maintenance, which I really appreciate.
There you go.
I guess we could kind of look over here too, which is the wild zone. So this is all chamomile. I can't keep up with booping it. Like you can see here, like I just came through and booped it, but it's just not gonna quit. And
Beautiful.
in the back here, I basically have a variety of pollinator mixes that I just kind of scattered. And it's great because this area, just like as a little tip, if you have like an area that's really quite crazy. So these are kind of invasive vines, which I guess eventually we'll have to deal with, but it's too much trouble to worry about growing in this area because it's full of pests and it has all this kind of invasive stuff. So we decided to make it a pollinator patch. That way we don't have to worry about damage. We don't have to worry about watering as much.
Just let nature take care of it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that big sunflower. It's the same one from the front, I guess. It's a volunteer.
Massive.
Yeah. And actually, we didn't really talk about that much, but oh yeah, one more thing, sorry. So here, we still got some broccolini going. So we are starting to get a little warm, but this broccolini is not quitting yet. So until it quits, we're gonna keep getting it.
Yep.
And in the back there, I don't know if you could see it, but that's kind of like one of the main compost bins.
Yeah, let's zoom on over there.
All right, so we're over here. This is kind of the compost bin. So this is kind of where I do like the aging of the compost. So everything can go in here pretty rough. I'm not too worried about it. I turn it maybe like once a month. You could see as I prune stuff, I kind of just throw it on top. I'm not really that worried about it. I have the little compost thermometer here. So right now it's sitting at 100 degrees.
Not bad.
And I just have some burlap on top. And it's a lot of straw, but it's really just gonna, over time, I'm not in a rush, basically. But yeah, oh yeah, all sorts of bugs in there.
Yeah.
Nice fungal spores in there.
So this is a really slow way to do it, but it requires like no time.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And then we have something special right here, huh?
Oh yeah. So we also wanted to grow some wheat here. So we really got into sourdough and making our own bread. So I mean, the obvious next step is to grow your own wheat and try to make a loaf of bread. So this is a total experiment. Seems to be going really well. Again, this is kind of a wild area, but the wheat doesn't seem to mind.
No, and you're actually getting a little bit of the seed head
Oh yeah.
developing right here.
So
Very cool.
you know, looks like we're gonna get something. Hopefully at least one loaf of bread. That's the plan.
So we're here with 2 of the harvests from Jacques' garden, the example harvest, the beautiful garlic and our cipollini.
Yeah.
Doesn't really look like a Cipollina though,
No,
does it?
it's basically just like a giant spring onion.
Yeah.
But it should hopefully have some of that sweetness.
The thing I think is so interesting about Jacques' garden is, number one, you did this really fast.
Yeah.
So within 15, 16 months of, would you say this is when you really started gardening, or what were you doing before you had this space?
So before we were really working on this, I was actually in an apartment, so I was not gardening there.
Okay. So
But
from nothing, effectively,
Yeah.
to this in 15, 16 months.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, growing up, we've always had gardens in our house, and especially tomatoes. So we're definitely all about tomatoes. And as you can see, I have quite a lot of tomatoes still.
Yeah.
But I mean, lately, honestly, like it might, I don't know how it comes out on video, but there's definitely some work that could be done on here.
Always. There always is.
Always.
It's a
I mean,
garden.
yeah, but that's the realness.
Yeah.
So it's just about finding like the time to get out here, and it's not a chore to me. It's
Right.
more about like what I actually find fun to do.
Sure.
And we get to reap the rewards of eating it all too.
I think what's cool to me is, as soon as I had my space at the Epic Homestead, I really started to go. And it took some time to get it ramped up. There's a lot of things going on in the Epic gardening world. But to me, I think it's really inspiring to see someone go from, I'm not going to say never gardened before, because that's not true, but certainly not with this much space.
No,
And
not
to
with
have-
this much space.
Yeah, to have a garden this productive and this well thought out with all these different elements, honestly, for, I know you probably can't do the math right away, but how much do you think this roughly cost you in money? Not time, but money.
Honestly, in money, the biggest expense is probably gonna just be potting soil.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could say like maybe $1,000. I don't really know.
$1,000 for all the structures.
Yeah, I mean,
soil.
a lot of the
tools.
structures are
Yeah.
pretty cheap. Some of the tools we just had. I've been expanding as we've been growing,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been like enough to be noticeable.
Yeah.
I guess maybe my seed addiction is a little worse.
Well, that doesn't count.
But
It
that's
never
that's
counts
free
in the
game.
garden budget.
It's free game.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this tour. If you like what Jacques is up to, I'll put his Instagram in the video description. He helps me out a lot at the Epic Homestead as well. So it's been great to tour the garden. I think it was high time that everyone kind of saw behind the scenes of what you got going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Until next time, good luck in the garden and keep on growing.
Thanks.